and sewing things. If the laptop's warmed up in the sunshine, the battery lasts longer. There you go. I have a spare terrible design Lenovo. A year ago, it's the same principle as with the trousers. A year ago, I bought a replacement keyboard. Lenovo, a new Lenovo 3.5 years ago, actually came with a faulty keyboard. I'm like, okay, you can send it back, but I didn't have time. Having had all my time for so many years wasted by the tragically two-faced. Right, to the point. And by the way, any collaborators in the future, that doesn't matter, because I've learned to what's the right way of putting it? Incorporate that. With the exception of one person, every single person is provisional, and if they fail to follow through things, I will have a jolly good record that can be just passed on to somebody else. But also, actually, no, this is a difficult thing to say. When people fail to follow through, if you have true Zen, it actually empowers you. It energizes. It just confirms that the project for many years I've thought must be done. I mean, this is simply modern day Montaigne. Montaigne, 500 years ago, was he more or less told the truth of his society? It's no different. And I don't want to get anybody, I don't want to point the finger at any one individual, because I see the same patterns everywhere. Why did I turn this on? Yes. Every time you turn on damn Radio 4, that cover is left off for a reason. I'm the most organised person in the world. It's a time-saving reason. Anyway, every time you turn on Radio 4, you have moan, moan, moan. Now, we have to have some sources of intelligent commentary. Moan, moan, moan. Now, this looks like a complete mess. I had this up on the wall of my 8-year tenancy for a long time, trying to figure what really can one say about society. And that actually is more or less all there is. I mean, this morning we have, oh wow, somebody has at last an interview person to person with J.K. Rowling and her opinions about trends. I mean, I'm sorry. This, millions more people, millions are affected by this. I personally, age 29, was all adrift. I spent a few years in the company, very close company, of somebody with 3 very young children. In fact, she was pregnant when I met her. That sorted me out. That made me accept a little child. I'd never had anything to do with children before, ever in my life. That made me accept and value and love somebody else's 2 girls and a boy. I was there when the third child, a girl, was born. That made me accept a child as so precious. Never after that period have I ever driven at more than 40 miles an hour on the country roads, 60 miles an hour on the motorway, because I totally was thrilled, and my whole life was changed by spending time with little kids. Woman's Hour. It's about 10 years ago. I think I've got the reference somewhere. Had an interview with a man. who'd had problems. He'd been in and out of the services. I think he'd spent time in jail for the sort of ordinary-ish, well, tragically ordinary, messy booze, pot, other drugs, all medium level, spilling over into aggression, minor violence. He'd had a history of that. And the interview was with him. He was spending, I think, half a day a week, or maybe a bit longer, with his 7 or 8 year old daughter. And he told them, well, it's not an arsehole. You have to, people kind of do their best, but so many people end up in a mess. The interview was magnificent. He was like explaining how by spending time with this precious, obviously, I mean, a 7-year-old child needs our care and attention. By being the carer for his young child, and it's automatic. Okay, maybe not for absolutely everybody. Maybe there are psychopaths, sociopaths who cannot be reached. But he had gradually, automatically, his bad ways had gradually fallen away. And it wasn't some kind of like Disney version. It wasn't like, oh, my little princess, I live for the moments that she comes. No, he was talking about how his real person, his life, his behavior as an adult person had changed. She was only there for a short-ish, an afternoon or whatever, a week, but this then filtered through into all the rest of his life. He gave up his bad, dangerous, destructive habits. Now, I'm afraid to say that's how humanity works. So, all we ever hear is safeguarding, precautions, division, division, division. That's all we ever hear. The solution for people, the great, great majority in terms of how they are going to behave the rest of their life, I know because it happened to me. Even if I were to not have a child in my life for a decade in any way, I would still never drive other than extremely safely. And the reason I started, I was a professional pilot. I fly airplanes at 400 miles an hour, low level, pacifist. It's because I started to have a thought in the back of my mind, having spent time with those gorgeous young children, that, if there was ever a crash, as I'm careering, having driven a bit too fast to stop, into the back of the car in front, I might see a little face looking at me, who I may accidentally, of course, kill. And that changed my life. Never do I act in any way that can endanger other people, because there might be a child with somebody. And then we have two things in the middle. What's this? I can hardly remember. The link. Yeah. But there's something else here. I'll come to it. And that is the solution. The solution for society. Full stop. Of course, we used to have this when we lived in tribes in the woods, but that's the only solution there is. We cannot afford as a society to herd, corral, punish, monitor everybody. It's unaffordable. And you're only going to have endless horror stories of where men like him, and it's increasingly women, are it's not psychopathically, but just destroying other humans. There we go.